Hello and welcome to another screen recording. As you can see, I'm inside After Effects now, and I've started post-production work. So obviously, you see I've done shot 9 and shot 10, and I've only just realised to start screen recording, so my apologies on that one. But I'll just take you through basically what I've done. So up here you can see I've got the all the different files, and then also I've got lots of comps. And from previous post, I have been rendering out using a multipass, and the main reason for doing the multipass is now very evident, and this is where the main benefits of doing it have come in. So if I go into shot 10, you can see here that shot 10, also here, is in its own composition. So basically, the first thing that I did was I pulled in the full footage, which is here. I then dragged that down into a new comp, which I won't do. But I dragged that down into a new comp, and that formed this. I then pulled the full render in. I probably don't. Pulled the full render in, and then I started to import. I'll just pretend to do it now just to show you. But I then started to import all of the different separate multipasses. So even though this is in shot 9, just a good example, quick, is here are all the different passes for the frames, sorry, that I've pulled in. And first learned sort of about the PNG sequence last semester doing visual effects, but basically each one of these renders, so After Effects will kind of notice that if there's a picture and, well, lots of pictures in the same folder with all the same name, it will kind of automatically interpret that it's a PNG sequence, which it is. So with PNG sequence ticked, you then click open, which, as I've already done it, and it will then bring it into After Effects. So it will look something like this, and this is what all the stock kind of footage looks like. That's the icon for it, and then that's the comp. So Sphere Matte 9 will then be dragged into a composition, and it will produce something like, if it'll load, oh, okay, there we go. It'll produce something like this. Now, what it will do initially, if I just untick that, what it will first do is, if I solo this, which I can't, it'll basically, I'll pull in the full footage, I'll then bring in the multipass, and I'll basically create a Luma map. And as you can see, learning from visual effects, the Luma map basically blocks out all the other bits of footage apart from whatever wasn't. So black is off, white is on. And so if we just get rid of this again, basically, so all of this extra bit around here is basically being turned off, and because the sphere is basically isolating that is the only thing that will be on. Apologies if that explanation it wasn't very good, but basically visual representation, visual explanation is this layer here is blocking out everything else in the background. This layer here is blocking everything else out in the background apart from that little dot, and because it's been tracked frame by frame, it should basically make a perfect mask. And then once I've done that, I then pulled this in to shot 9. So you've got Sphere Matte 9, and that's here. And if I go to shot 10 quickly, you can see that I've added some effects, and you can see there's a slight little glow. So I'll just do the exact same thing as to what I did for the shot 10, and I'll add a fast blur. Now it's here on the effects. I'll just go to shot 10 quickly and see. So it's at 30. Right. So there we go. 30%. Now that has added the fast blur effect. So if I just play that through real quickly. So there we go. It's adding its little blur effect, and you'll also see that all of the stuff working. And that's basically why I've done it. I've basically done it to allow me to affect certain aspects of each scene so that I can effectively add an effect without it affecting everything else. So as you see there, I added that. So I added the fast blur to this sphere here, and that added it to that and that only. It didn't add it to any of the like X particles or the cube. So now, say I want to change the X particles. Let's go. So this won't be the final thing, but as a point of explanation. So I go stylize glow, and there you go. You can see that this has added this really bright glow to the thing, to the whole shot, but it's only to the X particles. It's not affecting the sphere, it's not affecting the background, it's not affecting the cube, it's only that, and that's the whole reason. So hopefully that made some sense, and I didn't just ramble there for a long time, but I'm going to wrap this up here and let the time-lapse take over. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon, or if not, you shall see the final product very soon. So
and soft.
So, just carrying on from the last point at which I last spoke in the video, I was explaining about how doing the multi-pass rendering was really relevant for this to enable me to add effects. So I've just basically finished up all of the different compositions. So here I'm in the final shot, or the final animation piece, and I've got all the different shots. So they're all 5 seconds long, apart from shot number 1, which is 10. So I've got all the different shots, and currently shot number 1 is rendering out at the moment, and it has been for the past 2.5 hours, and it's got a long way to go still. But this is where the different multipass renderings and like really do allow me to bring this to life, like how I explained before. But if I just give you a quick like little rundown of how each one is like made, basically. So let's go into shot 3, and the best way to kind of describe it is it's kind of like Inception, where there's compositions within compositions. So this is the folder for shot 3. Initially it was all just open and it was very messy and completely unorganized and it was chaotic. So I changed it all. So I've got each one of these 3 selected bits of media are the PNG sequences. So they're the actual raw files that I imported them to. I then selected each one of these and put them into a new composition, and that gave me these 3. No, give me these 3. So these are the final compositions of that. And within each one of these compositions, you've got the Luma map, basically isolating each individual element. So you've got this file here, and then you've got the full footage file, and this is in all of the so this is inside the cube map and the XParticles map. So you've got the full map, the full footage here, being told it's going to be a Luma map, and then this is basically the mask, masking everything else out apart from XParticles. Fairly simple. So then I then take this composition created of the Luma map and then put it into the final composition for the shot, which is in shot 3. So here it is again, and it's quite a weird way to think about it. But so this composition is within composition shot 3, and then composition shot 3 is in the final comp. So it's a composition within a comp within another comp. So it's kind of like Inception, but basically where I add all the effects, it is within the individual shot, and that's kind of weird to think about, because initially I would have thought it would have been in the actual XParticles map, and I could have done it in there. It probably would have been just as easy or just as difficult to do it, but yeah, it's easy. So for example, I've put some effects already on shot number 9 and number 10. And you can see that here by the FX logo or symbol. And if I just turn these on and off, you can see that the cube there is taking, like it's changing the effects of coming on and off. Same with the sphere, it's all changing. And this is all done within here, so whenever I go into the final, basically, if this is at the top, let me just drag this up quickly. There you go. So basically all the effects are visible within this final shot. within the final composition, basically. And that's basically how I'm going to go about doing all the effects. So the most easiest one to explain is the sphere here. That just has a fast blur, which gives that kind of glowing effect. It's not an actual glow. The X Particles has a glow on it, but that's just a fast blur. It works quite well. But yeah, so that's how I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to do the effects within the final shot, not in the individual compositions for each element. Like I said before, I can do this for all of these ones except for shot number 2, which is actually shot 1. I over counted how many shots I had, so this should be shot 9, shot 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then shot 1. But just for organisation, I've organised it all, and it's quite annoying. I've organised it all within their relevant shots, so I'm going to keep them as is because it's easier. But I'm going to be adding effects to the rest of them now, and I also think that, so I've got these extreme close-ups of the X Particles here, and I was going to have these edited together so there's a kind of RGB split effect to make it a bit different. And I think that to do that, I'm going to have to put this inside of another composition, these 3, to make that effect. But I'm going to have to do some research onto that, just to make it easy for me to understand. But for now, this is pretty much it. I'm by no means done at all. I still need to add all the effects on. I still need to edit this RGB split effect between these 3 close-ups, or extreme close-ups. I also need to add the graphics to... which shot is it? To this shot where I've got the graphics like coming off from the cube. So I need to do a camera track onto a point in the cube, and then there'll be some graphics which will like come out and display some data. I need to play around with that as well. Probably like, so it'll be like coming up from around here, coming up and then across. Obviously I don't want it to be blurred or be over the top of the X Particles. It's too bright, you won't be able to read it, but I still need to do that. And then also for shot 9 and 10, where I've got the sphere here, I'm going to do a track from that as well of the particle, very much like the Guardians of the Galaxy inspirations part, where it's just like the name of the thing and just some values which are changing to give it a more like tech-driven kind of convention behind it, or like that sort of element or notion. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks very much for watching, and peace.